Hey, I'm here with Taylor, who's a good friend of mine. Taylor's known for setting, and I'll let him introduce himself because he'll know better than I do. But this would be a good episode if you're running a team or you're running your own business or you're just interested in setting more appointments in general, because we're going to get into some really tactical things. That's really why I'm here to speak to Taylor, actually. So, Taylor, I think a good start would be actually a little bit of an introduction about yourself, maybe how we know each other and what you're doing now.
Yeah, for sure. And thanks for having me, Chirag. Really appreciate it. So, a bit of
Sure.
background. I've been in sales since 2019, right? And I actually started in the door-to-door world. So that was about 18 months,
I
grinding
remember
out,
that, I think. Yeah.
wearing a blazer in the wet. It was never fun. And cold calling, B2B. Did a lot of that before I actually started in the high ticket world. So my
Yeah.
introduction to the high ticket space was in August 2021. And that was actually when I first started working with Sales Sniper. Obviously, that's where we got acquainted and started working.
2021, I think it was. Yeah. 2021, 2022. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Jeremy Minor, I actually worked with him January 2022, so it was a really
Yeah.
good starting point. And obviously, we worked together very closely in that offer. I was there for about a year and 3 months. That was really the place where I grew my foundations as like a
I
more
thought
of
you
a.
were there a bit longer. For some reason, I remember a bit longer, but yeah. Okay. That's cool.
No, I mean, the amount you learn and like the experience you get, it does make you feel like it is longer. So I feel like I
I know
developed
what
so
you mean.
much.
Exactly. Yeah. I know what you mean. There's a
Obviously
lot
there,
to learn. Yeah.
yeah, obviously being there 3 4 years yourself, you'd understand that, right? So there was a DM setter slash mainly a DM setter over a phone setter, but I developed
Yeah.
so much of my skills there and produced 1.3 million cash for them. So it was over 100K a month I averaged in that offer. And
Yeah.
it was a great experience for me, learned a hell of a lot. And I was actually posting a lot of setting content at the time, sharing
Yeah.
my journey. I then transitioned to a health offer. Then I started my first closing role and did really well with that. Like it gave me a lot of the foundations. And over my career, I've produced 2.1 million as a performer. But now I'm
Nice.
focusing on managing leading teams, consulting offers as leaders with regards to how they can improve their setting teams. And I've produced just over 5 million cash collected in 14 months, managing those teams and helping them
Yeah.
improve. So that's been my
Yeah. I know for sure that you know what you're doing because I remember at one stage I
Excellent.
paid you for some one-on-one, right? And that was really useful. We only did one session at the time, but that was very useful. And I think that would be a good thing to talk through because I know we haven't actually really connected for a few years, right?
Yeah,
I
been
know
a
the
bit.
market has changed a lot, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a good starting place. Let's say we talk a bit tactically. If you think maybe over the past, I don't know, period, a year, 18 months, like what are you seeing in the setting space that used to work that maybe isn't working quite so much now?
Yeah, so I just remember that like a lot of people would fall for the marketing, the kind of sell the dream style marketing. So when you're in
The
appointment
white marketing type
yeah,
thing.
you get people who are like, oh, this is like this brand new space, and there's this cool stuff online. Like, how can I make it happen? So, like the biz ops space, the make money online offers that I'm very used to.
Yeah,
The skepticism. There was some skepticism, but it was way lower than what it is now. I
I
think
hear that a lot from people that it's a lot higher. Yeah,
like if you look at the 2024, especially 2025 market, this is I would say the year of skepticism at this point in time. Like at this
yeah,
point, everybody has been for at least one or two high ticket funnels, have seen some form of a guru or a course
yeah,
or rental out there, and unfortunately, they've probably seen one or two very bad examples as well. So
yeah,
really, like when I look at the role of a setter, it's to basically deliver the best possible first impression to not eliminate the trust but allow
yeah.
them to be more open to even exploring further because a lot of people actually don't opt into stuff as well as they do just due to the skepticisms of what they've seen out there, what they've heard. So
Yeah.
it's really I think a setter's job just to have the most solid first impression. Like I don't think it's ever been as important as it is right now to have
I
that
think
really.
that's a really good thing to focus on is the skepticism because I was connecting back with somebody and he literally mentioned the same thing. Like he said to me, hey, if I'd known this training like 3 or 4 years ago, I would have made so much more money than what the market's at now. I think we could focus on skepticism for a second because
Yeah.
you mentioned something there about why it's happening because people have gone through more funnels now. So I want to explore that a little bit more. Is there anything else in there that you feel is causing that skepticism?
Yeah, well, first of all, I think it's the experience with other sales pros, right? So yes, you've got the
Okay.
funnel, you've got the marketing, it sells the dream. They
Yeah.
see the reviews, but sometimes that there is just a poor amount of salespeople, and like I'd say quality on the setter standpoint, like I think the quality is
Yeah.
better overall for closers than it is for setters.
Yeah.
Just overall very base level communications. It's hardly even asking questions. Doing a set call in 2 or 3 minutes with like, oh, what are you looking for? Okay, let's set you that. And it's
Because
really
that's one of the things you see is not great practice. Yeah.
yeah,
Now,
exactly.
in your standpoint, as a setting standpoint, in terms of improving or getting past more skepticism, I've got my ideas. I'm sure you've got your own. Like, what are some of the like maybe the principles of bigger things that you focus on so that if you've got a setter, you can help them get past more skeptical buyers these days?
The first thing is when I look at a really good setter, it's positioning, right? Do they position
Yeah,
themselves as an authority? Are they sucked into the prospect's way they want the communication to go? Or do they
yeah,
actually lead the very beginning? And yes, the words are important, the frames, the tactical stuff, but it's the way they carry themselves as well. Like when they respond, do they actually respond or do they react? Are they slow? And do they actually help the prospect process what they're saying? You know, pausing, making
yeah,
sure they're using the right tonalities at the end. And by the way, the set is focusing on all of the specific stuff. It doesn't help, but it's more so focusing on who they are showing up as in those calls
100%.
to take the leadership and just take them through the process.
Yeah,
But being down and attached is very, very important.
yeah, because that's how I see it. Is that like if you think about skepticism, how I see it is like when you play video games, right? There's like a life bar, and trust is a bit like a life bar.
Oh,
And these days, that life bar is like way smaller, so you can just game over it much easier. If that makes sense. And
exactly.
so when you don't respond back to prospects, like to their answers very well, then basically that trust bar unconsciously is just being cut down and cut down. And that's what causes often a lot of them just to shut down.
Yeah.
So it's like having those little things in there. Like it's like you learn most people learn the structure to setting quite easily. And then it's the next stage I found is that how do you respond to the answers well? Because if you
Mm.
can do that well, and then you normally can have some types of people that you struggle with, right? A types is a common one. Then can you train on getting better with that? If you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, like one of the offers that I manage on now is an options trading offer, right? So
yeah,
that space has been heavily clogged with rubbish. And the average avatar is usually 40 to 60. They're about to retire. They've got a chunk of money. You know, that's
yeah,
typically we get A types. And the biggest thing that I notice with the good setters that I manage versus the ones that are like really ramping up and potentially struggling
yeah,
in places, it's like overall it's the leadership framing and just like being able to actually have more of a backbone in that call as opposed to folding and then saying, here's the program, here's the prices. Do you want to hop on that next call? Right?
100%.
They fold, then it's the prospect's call. It's not their call, right? And that's
Yeah.
important.
And
Is
that's a problem, yeah, because like the prospect's in a problem and their frame is actually keeping them in a problem. So you've
yeah,
got to get into they actually have to come into your doctor based frame, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, 100%. I want to ask you something as well, because that's like very like tactical in the sales conversation, right? I'm not
yeah,
sure if you do this because we haven't reconnected in a while, is on the sales process side, or like how I'm seeing is like, let's say you've got a CRM. Is there anything that you find in there that people aren't doing from a process side that isn't generating them the opportunity they should?
yeah. I think sometimes their process when they reach out to leads in the CRM, it's very sporadic. And yes,
Yeah,
that they may have priorities on the leads that they have that come up through that are very new, like speed to leads, for example. But then when they
yeah,
focus on like pipelining, it's very weak, and so they always rely on new opportunities. So the
yeah,
moment that leads start to drop, they're like, oh, well, I haven't got many leads. That's why I'm not setting. It's like, well,
yeah,
how well have you actually nurtured those new leads that perhaps you didn't set? Have you got them in a pipeline sheet and have you kept them nurtured with materials, value adds? Have you gotten them actually resourceful so they can start gathering the money to eventually
yeah,
afford the program and then you can set them? Right. And it's always about like those good setters, they always have processes that work with even the older leads. Don't get
yeah,
me wrong, like if the business has not got a good retargeting strategy, you're just going to be reaching out to literal dead leads. And in order for you to get a response, it's going to take hundreds of dials. So the business
yeah,
owner has to make sure they've got measures in place to do effective retargeting. But even if they haven't, right, as a setter, it's really important that you have the correct processes to help book more calls in your calendar. So you actually create more of your own self triages. And
yeah,
if anything, it's like having a priority order of like what's engaging, what's not. And then those new leads having a cadence for how much you reach them in a day and what times you actually reach them to increase your pickup rate.
That's going to be my question because where my brain's going now, because there's a lot to that, right? And it's probably easy, even if you're a setter or you're a business owner doing your own setting sometimes, right? You're on something a little bit smaller sometimes. Is like staying organized with it. Do you have any
Oh,
like
definitely.
how do you systemize it? Is my question to you. Well, are there any tools you use? Questions like that, basically.
Yeah, well, I know the sexy answer is yeah, I've got like a Miro dashboard with like two different tabs, and it's got like this bubble that leads to this bubble that links to that bubble that leads to that. Like it's not, it's
Yeah,
really not sexy. It's really simple, like as
yeah,
simple as like a very effective spreadsheet that gives you an
yeah,
idea of where the people are at in the pipeline stage. If they have had a call with a closer, have they closed? If not, why? And just
yeah,
keep updating the notes and just constantly like half an hour a day in the morning, half an hour a day in the evening, updating your pipeline sheet, updating your nurturing sheet And then you'll
Yeah.
start to build up more of a list of leads that you can recontact as things dry up on the new lead side. It's honestly that simple. But a lot of people
Yeah.
just don't, they just kind of overcomplicate it or think, oh, I need to have these
I
sort of set.
found that as well from just doing it myself. Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
I definitely listened to Taylor about this because he was really, I remember being with him and he was very like target driven, I remember, and getting that target met through just being really organized. And the organization part is actually a lot simpler. So when I
Yeah.
apply it now myself, I find that I normally just have a list. Here's the people I reached out today. And then I might go back to the top of the list and, oh, I haven't messaged this person in a while. I keep it very simple, like
Yeah.
almost like that.
I
But I
think of it
think,
line sheet now. Like for me to grow my community, I have an outbound tracker that lets me know the percentages at like my outbound all the way to like links sent in order to join the community. And I've got percentages that go at each point, but I always go from left to right. If you remember our huddles at Sales Sniper,
yeah,
I'd always tell you guys the amount of outbounds that I need to hit, the amount of sets that I need to hit, the amount of closes, the amount of shows. You guys would know everything. And that's because
yeah,
always I'd reverse engineer from left to right. But not a lot of setters thought that way, and that's the unfortunate reason. They just don't think like business owners. They just think these guys give me leads. I just reach out to them, speak to them. That's it.
yeah, yeah, exactly. That's the systemizing and just making it simple is like the biggest thing. Because the way I started to see it is that, as you've said there, it's really easy to go out there and keep trying to dig up new wells when you've got like a well there in your back garden. And like a lot of the business is there. Because when I work with my mentor a lot, and he's really good on LinkedIn, he just keeps reminding me back, hey, you've worked with all these clients before. Like the opportunity is there. And I'm just like coming up with these different ideas and he's keeping me on track. So that's like the beauty of it.
Good
Yeah.
stuff.
For you though, like now, like how do you, when you're working with businesses and things, that'd be good to understand a bit more. Like, how do you come in? Like, what do you specifically work on?
Yeah, so it depends on what type of the support that they have. If I'm managing the team, it's like it's my business, right? So it's my
Yeah.
team. So I'm very much doing absolutely everything. But if they're wanting like consulting, then I'll give them templates that I've used across multiple different businesses that have got me to where I'm at.
Yeah.
Even if it's just like simple coaching, like hopping on a call and just going through problems, I always look for what are the top one or two things that are needle moving. But the way that I aim to build setting teams is yes, I want them to perform well, but my goal actually is when I'm building a team, I want to
Yeah.
expose other problems in the business. Because for closing teams specifically, they're the ones that are actually bringing in the cash. There's like different problems being solved. It's like obviously on the
Yeah.
front of funnel, the bottom of the funnel, but when it's like top of funnel, specifically once you've optimized those processes, it can show breakages in tech. Is tech very slow to implement? Are there breakages in the CRM? On the
Yeah.
closing side, if they're not converting a lot of our deals, why aren't they? We've got an 80% show rate. We've got like a really good conversion rate typically on sets. The quality's there. We had no complaints from the closers. Or it could be the fact that we're not setting so much and even our top performers are struggling. So, like, how can marketing do a better job of their targeting, their content? So, I
Yeah. It's
always
all
want to
interconnected, isn't it? That you find.
exactly like my goal is to make the team so good that it makes other departments have to raise their standards. That's always the way that I look to build. So,
Yeah.
what I actually look at the start, first of all, I look at how is the communication within the company. Is
Yeah.
it seamless? Like if I'm a setter coming into that company, do I know everything that I need to do to ramp up extremely quickly? And is it
Yeah.
super clear on what the steps are to succeed in this offer? Do I
Yeah.
understand where the offer's going? Is there a clear vision or are they just relaxed to staying at 100, 200K a month? Because no setter wants to stay
Yeah.
with a company like that. That's the reality. So like if that's there clearly, I know all of the steps for all the way from the script and what it looks like to have a successful conversation. As far as the CRM, do I know every step I need to make the most out of the CRM and squeeze juice? Do I know how to effectively hand off to closers? Do I know how to keep that relationship with them?
Yeah.
Another thing is making sure, like, do I know the offer at a very high level enough to actually have an authoritative conversation? I don't mean the ins and outs of the product. You honestly don't need to. It's obviously the problems and how it solves them. That's really the key.
100%. Yeah. I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. It's like the bit that I think people like the sexy bit in a way is the closing, right? And that
Yeah.
gets a lot of attention. But I think if people really knew that where I came from, so Seventh became, I don't know if people know this, became like the biggest B2C sales training company in America, right? And what people don't realize is the highest performers there were the ones that worked really closely with the setters,
Yeah.
right? And it wasn't like necessarily the highest performers were like always the most skilled actually in closing. It was how well they worked the opportunity in the CRM
Well,
with their setters.
I can give you a scenario as well. I can give you an example, right? This is when I was
Yeah.
DM setting, not doing the phone setting, but I had a really good relationship with, Chris Kavanagh. I know he's doing setting on
I know
another
Chris. Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
Christian Polk, you probably remember him as well. He's obviously
Yeah. I
doing
know
his own.
Christian. Yeah. Yeah.
So with those guys, I had a very strong relationship with them, and it got to a point that my DM sets were becoming so good that I would
Yeah.
get them to bid for my sets. right? So I'd have
Yeah.
Chris, he used to pay me $250 on top of my comms for an inner circle close. And I said
Yeah.
to Chris, well, Chris is paying me 250. Can you match that or give me a better bid? So Christian would pay me 300. Then it got to $400 on top of my commissions for one of my inner circles.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, as a setter, I don't think people realize how much power that they do have when they are
Yeah.
giving good sets and giving closers that certainty that, right, if Taylor's setting, I know it's going to be a good one.
Yeah,
Right?
if you think about it, yeah, if you're looking at it as a setter perspective, yeah, in a closer's eyes, like people know who the good setters are, and you have a lot of value actually. If we can just get really good at that skill set, and it's such a powerful one, it's huge. Like it's
Yeah,
huge. Yeah, I
definitely.
guess we're kind of. I don't think there's too much else to go over other than one thing I wanted to ask is what is we might have covered it, right? But like, is there anything else mistake-wise that you're seeing that people are making with setting now? And one thing I want, if you could do, is imagine like you're more of like maybe you run a smaller office like now, right? And maybe you're having to self-set. In fact, that'll be a separate question I'll ask. Right? Let's start with the first thing. Is there any other mistakes that you're seeing on the setting side that we haven't talked about?
For the individual setters or for business owners and leaders?
I would say more like business owners and leaders. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, first of all, it's like business owners have no idea how to set us up for success. They just assume that if they've got a CRM, there's new lead flow coming in, they'll be absolutely fine. Just reach out to them. They make so
Yeah.
many assumptions that because they're CRM and they have the ability to dial through like for a telephone, it's like, oh, everything's going to be fine.
Yeah.
They don't realize, what goes into actually being a top performer, what's needed to actually facilitate performance. Because
Yeah.
they just want to be part of an environment. Yes, they have the ability to be resourceful, to figure it out and build systems, help with training, but they want to spend their time just dialing and having conversations that convert. And it's your job as a leader to facilitate that and facilitate it at a high level. So
Yeah.
I think business owners do not do a good enough job of making it easy for top performers to win, so they can also get quick wins as a business.
Yeah.
I
Like
think I'm seeing that.
communication, tech, resources, I'd
Yeah.
imagine, like knowing
Well,
that
the
stuff
big
down
thing that
well.
I see is like a business owner will reach out to me and they'll go, I just need some setters. Can you just give me like one or two setters? It's like, well, I don't do recruiting really, first of all. I know lots of guys
Yeah.
that do. And I said, well, no, I wouldn't even try and refer you any talent right now because I don't know how good your environment is. I don't know how you set them up for success. Like if I was to refer
Yeah.
a setter that I knew to you, I want to be fully confident that you're setting them up to win. Otherwise, I'm not doing it.
Yeah,
And most
exactly
business
right.
owners are like, oh, well, I mean, it's fine. I've got this. And I'm like, have you got this set up? Have you got that? Have you got this? They're like, no, do I need that? Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to set them up to win. So
Yeah,
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
I have to deal with that a lot.
Because some people, you do find that some top performers, because normally you think setters will all go to be a closer at some stage, right? But some of them just don't because they actually just enjoy I guess, the flexibility that you have of setting, right? Like you can work your own hours. You don't have to, and all the other things that go with it. So it's, yeah, like if you find almost in a way, I'm sure Matt, I think you might have seen Matt's post on this, and we're starting to see it, is that I think like a gold standard setter is like worth more than a closer, like a gold closer in a way, potentially.
No, really.
Maybe it's worth as the same. It's worth so much.
It's often like if you pay a really good setter 10K a month, but they're producing you like 100K a month, that's a 7-figure appointment setter for your business from one
Yeah.
person. Like it's extremely valuable.
Yeah, they're huge if you can get a good one in for sure. One last question I think I've got, I think, unless I come up with another one, right? Is yeah, so because most of my audience, a lot of my audience anyway, are more like maybe they're running smaller offers, right? You put yourself in their shoes. Maybe they're having to self-set, right? Maybe they're even struggling to get like opportunity set. What comes to your mind? Like if you put yourself in that scenario, what would you maybe focus on first?
Well, I want to
Let's
focus
say
on
they're
the
struggling with volume, and
yeah.
we can talk about quality maybe, but we'll leave that for now. Let's just talk about volume. It is not getting enough sets in a week.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I look at is I want to, whenever I look at the stats, I always look at the lead to set and the dial to set, especially if we're going left to right. So whenever let's say if I'm working through like a current flow of leads, maybe there's some old ones in there, some new ones,
Yeah.
I want to make sure I have a process for speed to lead, right? Like
Okay.
if I have a channel where I have all of the new leads zapping through, I want to be refreshing that page several times throughout the hour. And I want to be able to hit within 5 minutes. That's really the first point.
Speed
I
to
want
lead.
to make
Okay.
sure
Yeah.
I've obviously got an efficient system where like I actually have a number that's not spam flags. That's where I would recommend Matt Ryder because he's been really amazing on like creating the dialer.io system. So
Yeah.
speed to leads is obviously very important, but also a way to actually re-engage leads and get really good with SMS in order to retarget, create inbound triage bookings so that you're
Right.
actually focused on leads that are engaged rather than ones that are not, and you're just hearing dial tones the whole day, right? Which
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they just focus on, oh, if I just do like $200 a day, $250 a day, I'll be absolutely fine. The
Yeah.
reality is it's not pointed, it's not intentional. You want to make sure that first of all, you find the times when the newer leads do pick up, or just any lead sources in general.
Yeah.
Find those, create those blocks once you have found them and experiment with it. Give yourself a week to test them. And
I
then
want
make
to
sure you
pause there for a second because what I'm thinking about now, because I think some people might not even be quite there or even dialing. Some people might just be okay, pure DM setting,
oh
right?
dear. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say if it was DM setting and their problem is, okay, I'm not setting enough volume. Let's say they've got an Instagram account, they've got a Facebook, maybe they've got a TikTok, right? What would you focus there on first if the problem I'm looking to solve is, hey, I'm just not getting enough appointments a week?
Mm. Yeah, well, I'd say once again, the speed to which you reach out to the new followers is very, very important, or the ones
Okay,
that
so you want to systemize that and have like a sequence
yeah.
in place.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah,
Like I would focus on like, especially with DMs, because it's a different process to the phone setting. Phone setting, you can get a very elaborate conversation, get really deep into things, not super
yeah.
deep, but deep enough to where you get a good amount of context. But for DMs, it's all about an efficient process. So for DMs,
That's
it's
what I've
like
realized more and
you want
more.
a set like within 6 DMs, ideally, like DMs from your side.
Yeah,
You'd have to do any more than that. Sometimes you're overthinking the process, or it's like we're not being able to take control of the conversation because it's really in the palm of their
yeah.
hands, say, for the prospects.
I totally, yeah. In those six, I know I'm picking your brain a little bit, but I think it's cool to share because even if you share the general, everyone will always need specific
Yeah.
feedback help anyway to apply it, right? In those six DMs, from a psychology perspective, what are like the main outcomes you're looking to hit?
Yeah. So the first thing is like, well, overarching goal to see if it matches what I can help with. Obviously, that's the first one. The
Yeah.
biggest thing then is I want to go straight into creating a gap. Where are they looking to go with that overarching goal specifically that they've mentioned?
Okay. So like what they're trying to get to. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Where they're at now in comparison. What's the biggest thing that's holding them back from doing that? That's going to tell you if they are blaming everybody else or are they blaming themselves.
Yeah.
If they do blame everybody else, then you can ask like a doubtful question. I like to ask like an or question. It's like, is it the fact that X, Y, Trump is fucking you over, or the
Yeah.
fact that you don't have the skills to counteract the changes in the market? Like that kind of
Yeah.
a question, right? But if they blame themselves, then it's like we have to dramatize the fact that they probably lost money. So I like to say, oh damn, like okay, the fact that you don't have the skills, like how much do you think you're actually losing because you haven't got the skills to counteract X, Y, and Z problem?
Yeah.
I'm losing loads. Okay, time to change that then. Can I make a suggestion?
Straight
Now we're
kind of
going into that. Then we
that's the
frame.
general sequence. Yeah. I like that. That's cool. Yeah. I know that's the thing. You mentioned some really important things there, which I really like, which is I think a lot of people aren't squeezing the juice of new followers. They're probably just letting them come into their system and just not actually messaging them. I know I've been guilty of that, right? I think
Yeah.
most of us have, right?
Oh
We
yeah.
just haven't systemized it. And the other piece is being more efficient. That's the key word I think with DMs these days.
Hmm.
Because I think they're just dropping off more quickly now, aren't they? They're just
Yeah.
not. If it goes too long, you're not getting anywhere.
I think it like depends on your audience as well. Obviously, I focus on reaching out to business owners, so the quality of the business owner is very important for me. If I'm just doing like
Yeah,
blast outreach, it's like what I mean? I want to make sure my time is spent effectively. But if it's like a biz op and you're helping people make money, or it's like, just more of like something that's way scalable and like there's a high volume of customers, then speed is very important, volume of conversations. But often when you're pitching business owners and having the right people for you to work with as clients, the
yeah,
quality of the outreach, the personalization of how you do it, attracting specifically to them and their problems and actually like researching them. I think that's more important than doing fewer outreach than it
yeah,
is to do something that's like, just pure volume and blast. Obviously, if you're brand new, the volume helps negate the skill. It helps you actually get back into it again. But the
100%.
content
Yeah,
is be what gives you more inbound. And I think a lot of people don't focus on the inbound as much as they do
yeah.
the out.
I think this is super useful. Actually, one thing I wanted to ask you. I think I know the answer. Is when you're DMing, especially or setting, it can feel like you're doing that round the clock, right? You're kind of always plugged in. I probably know the solution to this, but I'll see what your take is on this. How do you come out of that so that you're still being effective and not always feel like you're always on? That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you just set times? That's what I was thinking. How you solve it? You just be like, I do these times, and then I'm done.
yeah. I think like obviously blocks are very important because the moment you put on like a 30-minute, 60-minute timer, like there's just nothing else that you're doing apart from DMs. And you end up doing way more. Like I think of
100%.
yesterday, right? Like I've been doing my first round of like DMs for people to come into my community, and I did My target's minimum 20 a day. I hit 34 yesterday, and I had 2 separate blocks throughout the day, and I got like 17 done in like 30 minutes. And I thought that was going to take me an hour because I like
Yeah.
to make sure I'm very specific on who I reach out to. It's just, yeah, it's crazy when you've got the power of focus and intentional time
That's
commitment.
exactly. I think that's the main thing. Put it at a certain time. Make that time sacred, because otherwise it's so easy for things to go in. And
Yeah.
then put on a timer, which I found is amazing as well. Yeah, 100%.
100%. And because we're based in the UK, like I think that the value there is like reach out as early as possible. When people are starting to wake up, they see a DM. A lot of people check their phones when they wake up, or at least within the first like an hour. So
Yeah,
I always like to be just kind of the top of mind that comes through straight away. And like I want
yeah.
to do all my DMs at the very start. And then yeah, throughout the day, I'm obviously doing my management, making sure that I'm doing a great job with my clients. And if I have a spare moment in between or afterwards, then I'll reply to people. Because you
Yeah, I
don't
know.
like
I like to do it even, you can even do it as like first thing in the morning if you wake up early, like UK, European time, because
yeah.
it's like you might catch some people still awake in the evening in the States. I've
Yeah, true.
noticed
Pacific time. Yeah, that
that's
works.
quite a cool way to do it, actually. Yeah. No, cool. I think that pretty much covers it. Appreciate you coming on. What's the best way for people to, like, if you want to do better with setting your, you run your own offer or you're managing or whatever it is, right? What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so I have an Instagram, so it's called Make Setters Great Again. So feel free to follow that. That's
Yeah.
an account I'm really aggressively focusing on
Are you, are you,
promoting.
are you political on that account? No, I was going to say.
No, I really do not like Trump, but
Yeah.
it's kind of really intuitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the Facebook side, just literally my name, so thetaylorohare. Just follow me there.
Yeah. I follow Taylor on Facebook. He's got some good things. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
But
spot
yeah,
on.
definitely follow Taylor. I think you said you're going to run a community as well. But yeah, reach out to Taylor. Definitely knows his stuff with setting. And yeah, I think there's some really good takeaways from this that are very practical. If you actually sit and pause and actually apply it, is going to make a big difference to setting for sure.
All right,
Cool.
thanks.
We'll meet again soon. Take care.
Cheers, man. Have a good one.